Well, I just would like to say that if this project goes through with everything that the environmental experts had stated, then I truly believe there is something wrong with the process in Vermont government. Thank you.
I think a lot of us here are going to be voting against this expansion project because of the wind project. And the power that's coming off that wind project, ruining the habitat, ruining that mountain for 24,000 homes receiving electricity, is criminal. And the co-op and the trustees wanted it, and the Public Service Board wants it. I don't know, I personally think it's kind of criminal that this whole wind project is going ahead. In 20 years, those turbines are going to be outdated, and they're going to be sitting up there, not turning because they're not worth fixing, and we're going to look at them for the rest of our lives. The same as that project in California in the Mojave Desert near Needles, where a good portion of those windmills are just dead, not turning, they're not worth fixing. We're going to destroy a whole mountain? Whose right was it? Who got bought off? They bought off the whole town of Lowell. Who would be tempted to vote for it when you're not going to have to pay any property taxes for the next 40 or 50 years? The whole thing is wrong. And if this transmission upgrade has anything to do with this windmill project, I voted against it.
We have a requirement from the state of Vermont to have 20% of our power come from in-state renewables by 2017. So again, our job is to comply with the policies that are set forth by the state of Vermont. We don't set public policy, we follow public policy. That public policy says that 20% of our power by 2017 must come from in-state renewables.
Nathan Burgess, a reporter. David, you mentioned in regards to the requirement from the state for renewables, you mentioned to me that that's not a requirement. Is that a mandate or is it not a mandate?
The legislature has given us a clear message that it wants 20% of our power come from in-state renewables. That is the will of the people. Although the legislature has stopped short of making it, quote, a mandate, they also said if we don't do it, we'll get a renewable portfolio standard.
The policy in Montpelier was set by utility lobbyists and renewable energy developers, spending huge amounts of money, rushing through this legislation. The PSB has rushed this project through because of expiring federal tax credits. That's the only reason this is happening right now. And now you are facing a growing and rapidly growing groundswell. And I would advise you, if you really care about your jobs and you really care about VEC, to back off this project right away. You guys should have been looking out for the interests of your members and lobbying for policies that protect the interests of your members, not standing idly by, letting policies get passed that are going to lead to the destruction of one of the most precious environmental jewels in Vermont.
Ben, no, we do not need the carbon credit. That's one thing unique to the Vermont speed program. The state of Vermont will allow us to sell those credits.
So we're going to destroy our ridge line to sell these carbon credits?
Certainly.
I'm Liz Shahale, Albany, Vermont, and I live right down the hill from the wind turbine. And I just wanted to say that the 1% decrease in my electrical rates will in no way offset the loss in property values and the loss of taxes to my town, Albany.
I just want to talk a little bit about the Public Service Board. I have always loved Vermont, and I've always felt that Vermont, is a place where they listen to the individual. I have never in my life seen such a masquerade of people sitting there, and it's like the emperor has no clothes. And the Public Service Board gave a quote-unquote certificate of public good with 42 conditions. That's hardly a nod in that this is an okay project from my perspective. Immediately, that is appealed by Green Mountain Power, and they want to move ahead on some of the conditions. Well, is it the state of Vermont who hires lawyers to say, no, this is our Public Service Board? Is it our state of Vermont who has lawyers who are who are countering Green Mountain Power? No, it's our neighbors who've had to raise money to hire lawyers to hold the Public Service Board, you know, to judgment up there. I don't understand that process, but I think that when you can so eloquently stand up there and say, well, it's, you know, the Public Service Board does this, and this person does that. You know, we're the members. This is our co-op, and I think we're really learning how to be a co-op through this process. People needed to have a voice earlier, and they didn't. And
but the main thing is you got to cut the head off the snake, and the head of the snake is the federal subsidies. Yet I wrote a letter to Bernie Sanders, Patrick Leahy, and Peter Welch, and the answer I got back from all three of them was the same. Oh, everybody should be able to, you know, make the decision whether they want it. Well, the people here, other than the people in Lowell, nobody had a chance to vote on that. And it's outrageous. And for them to write me back a letter saying that it's a federal or a local issue is wrong. Because if we cut the subsidies, and if you add the subsidies into this figure that you're throwing out, how it's the least cost, you know, renewable, and then add to that, on top of that, the environmental degradation that's being done, then tell me what the cost is. And you're not figuring that in. So you're, you know, the whole thing is a sham. You're not being truthful.
Tyler Mason from Albany. Now, my concern is I'm not for or against nuclear power, but not only does Vermont Yankee employ over 600 people, which it ain't going to come to nowhere near that with wind power, and also Vermont Yankee provides 620 megawatts a year. This wind project will only amount to 63 megawatts a year at best. Now, how can we take away our base load power and replace it with only supplemental power, expecting it to provide what we need? And as far as I see it, this all comes back. I've been fighting this for almost a couple of years now, and this all comes back to money handed out to a Canadian company by our government, and they don't care because it's win-win for them.
Obviously, we're disappointed with tonight's vote, but we learned two things tonight. First, we learned that there's over 1,000 people that are in this region and that are VEC members that oppose the Lowell Kingdom Community Wind Project because of its size, its scope, and they know that it's inappropriate for Vermont. I think that we're going to find that Vermonters don't stand behind this project, and ultimately, although the CEO Dave Hallquist feels as though he knows the will of his membership, I think that will is going to dramatically change over the coming days, months, and years. And I would encourage VEC to stay on top of that. The other thing that we learned today was that if you spend $55,000 to get out a yes vote versus community members' donations, it's very easy to win.
If we were to develop all of the commercial grade wind resources in the eastern United States, it would offset no more than 17 gigawatts, about 17 large power plants worth of generation. That's compared to needing to offset 450 gigawatts of, on average, generation in the United States. It's a drop in the bucket. That means wind turbines everywhere, on every ridge line, every commercially viable place, and we would still only be making a drop in the bucket.
We've already filed a notice of appeal to the State Supreme Court, and we will make an aggressive case based on what you heard here today, what these people said. We're not done.